Hello, my little raindrops. It feels like I haven't recorded a video in weeks because I haven't recorded a video in weeks. If you have watched my November wrap-up, you will know that I caught a cold in like mid-November and that I was fine, and then I caught a very bad cold, which I am finally getting out of. I'm finally, getting back to normal. I still sound weird and I'm still a little bit like, I don't know how to describe it. I feel very icky, but it's getting better. And I just had an urge to record a video today. So I'm not really put together. I just threw on a really comfortable sweater. My dad bought me this for Christmas. My hair, I don't know what's going on here. Just gonna, we're just gonna have a chat. I actually have something specific to talk about because I really wanted to do this video and I felt like today was the day to do it. So I'm gonna talk about my favorite books of every month of 2022, and I was able to like pin it down to one book a month. So I'm gonna talk about my favorite book of January, February, so on. And we're just gonna do this like it's a FaceTime call. That's the goal. If you aren't new to the channel, if you've watched some of my videos before, you know that I'm very all over the place. Basically this entire account is just pure chaos, but I love it. I don't plan my videos. I don't plan what I'm gonna say. I don't structure anything. I'm just like, this is what I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk about it like I am sitting down and talking to a real person and telling them my thoughts on books. So we're gonna start because this is probably gonna be a long video because I talk a lot. So please keep in mind, I don't have all of the books with me because if you couldn't tell by the background, I am back home for the holidays. By the time I post this, I might be back at my apartment. I genuinely don't know. It might also be the new year, so happy new year. If I post this in 2023, happy new year. I wish you all the best. Thank you for being here, and it's nice to meet you if you're new to the channel. My name's Desiree, by the way. Good gods, I'm all over the place. Okay, we're just gonna get right into it. So in January, I did not read a lot of books. I mostly read like course readings, but I did read Silence by Becca Fitzpatrick in the Hush Hush series. Not gonna lie, I haven't even finished the Hush Hush series I haven't finished the Hush Hush series yet. I started that back in 2021. I read Hush Hush, the first one, in 2021, and I have not finished the series. I should probably fix that. Anyways, I'm not gonna lie, I don't fully remember what goes on in Silence. I do know that I really like the series though. And I remember, I think I rated it 5 stars. If not 5, then 4. I don't have much to say about the January favorite book because honestly, like, I didn't have a lot to choose from. I just know that the books I read for class were not any of my favorites, so I chose Silence because that was kind of the only option. If you don't know what the Hush Hush series is, it's basically a series about like fallen angels. I don't know, I guess it always gave me a vibe of like the TV series Shadowhunters. That is another series, like the books that I have not read because there are too many. I don't know where to start. I don't know what order to follow. It intimidates the hell out of me, so I just stay clear of it. But it always gave me the vibe of like the TV series Shadowhunters. It also, like, the first one is very, very, very like Twilight-ish. Like, they meet in biology class and he's the new guy and he's like dark and broody, so it's that very, I mean, books that were written in that time were all very similar to Twilight. I feel like any fantasy books, like fantasy, romance, YA books, were all very similar to Twilight. That's kind of the vibe Silence had a little bit more action, I guess we could say, and you do come at like, there's a bit more development between Nora and what's his name? Patch. Nora and Patch. There's a bit more development in their relationship, and there are some secrets that come to surface, and it's really interesting. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good. I am kind of sad that I didn't finish the series yet, because like, if you know me, you know that I'm the kind of person that doesn't read a series all in one go, just because I enjoy. I'm gonna move the camera. I'm gonna lie down a little bit. I'm tired. I'm not the kind of person that reads a full series in one go, because I like to take breaks. I like to read other stuff. That's how I am. I read Silence like a year ago, and I haven't finished the series. But that was the favorite book of January. When I'm gonna record my favorite books of 2022 in general, that book is not gonna be in there because it didn't really stand out to me all that much. And that's fine. It's completely fine. My hair is annoying. Oh my god. We're just gonna go with it, okay? Now, in February is when I really started adventuring into a bunch of other books, and I read more books per month. So my favorite book of February was Archer's Voice. Now, Archer's Voice became a very popular BookTok book around that time, I think. I can't remember. I do recall that I started reading it because one of my mutuals on TikTok was making a book recommendation video and mentioned one of the scenes in Archer's Voice, and I was completely sold. I'd seen a couple TikToks before that one of people talking about it, and I just kept feeling like I wasn't gonna like it. I just felt like I wasn't gonna like the female main character, Bree. I thought I wasn't gonna like her, and I just kept pushing it off. And then one of my friends' mutuals was like, oh yeah, she cuts his hair, and then they have a scene, and he's like, what can you teach me? And I was just sold. So I ordered the book, and I started reading, and I did not expect the book to touch so many aspects of trauma and, you know, mental health. It's a heavy book. Obviously, it's not the heaviest that I've ever read, content-wise, but it's a heavy book that addresses a lot of important topics. For those of you who don't know, I do have a tattoo for Archer's Voice. It is a little dandelion, and you see the meaning of the dandelion. Couple chapters in, you see on the cover of the actual book there are dandelions on it, and I love it when there's something on a book's cover that is so crucial to the story, but you kind of have to look for it to understand what the meaning is. So this tattoo means a lot to me because of what it means in the story. Like, not necessarily what it means in the book, that's why I got it tattooed. It's more of like the overall meaning of it. And I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to spoil any of it to you guys. But Archer's Voice is a beautiful romance. Archer was in an accident when he was a kid, and now he can't talk, and because of that, they're in a small town, and he's just kind of been closed off. He doesn't really talk to people, he doesn't socialize much because people don't try much either. They just kind of like, they try once and they have a hard time communicating with them, and they just give up. And then Bree comes into the small town for a fresh start after dealing with some trauma, and she comes across Archer, and she's intrigued, and she wants to be his friend, and she can speak sign language so they can communicate more easily. It's such a beautiful love story. Truly, I love it so very much. After I read it, it became like my entire personality. Like, every time people would ask me like, what's a book I should read, or what's your favorite book? Archer's Voice. And then it got so popular, and it became the favorite of a lot of people. A lot of people found a favorite book in Archer's voice. And I was so happy because some of those people, I was the one that recommended the book to them. And it always makes me so happy when I can recommend a book to someone and it turns out to be one of their favorites. Because what's better than finding a favorite book, right? It's such a good feeling. Anyways, February, it was Archer's Voice. Isn't it so fun that I'm literally just like crashing in bed but talking to you guys about books? So in March, my favorite book of March was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is another book that you will probably be, like, I'm 100% sure those of you who know me are not surprised to see this book on the list. Yes, there is spice. It's a really... Lucy Score is such a good small town romance author, and the next book in this series, which is going to follow Knox's brother, I'm so excited for it. It's coming out in 2023. I really enjoy Lucy Score's writing. I haven't read a lot of her books, but I have I only read 2? Anyways, I really enjoyed it. It's a really good small town romance. Okay, now we're talking about April. April, my favorite book, which is my favorite book of all time, is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. Again, if you've been here for a while, you already know this. Small Favors is a young adult fantasy thriller romance. And it is set in a really small town, which I love because I am a small town girly myself. I live in a town where we don't even have a grocery store. Small Favors is about Ellery. She is the daughter of like the beekeeper in this town. They also live in a town where many years ago it was said that the forests were filled with dangerous monsters, and so they installed bells around the perimeter so that the monsters would stay in the forest and so they wouldn't be in danger, etc., etc. And so now winter's quickly approaching and they need to go out to get rations, right? Winter is coming. They need to sell their products, but they also need to buy rations. And a group is sent and they never come back until the horse of one of these guys comes back like completely maimed, like huge gashes on the side of the horse. That broke my heart. When animals are mistreated, I cry more than if an actual human being dies. We see this and then people are like, okay, do we just stay and try to do with what we have left, try to survive the winter with what we have left, or do we send more people? And they end up sending more people, Ellery's father and her brother, to try to go find the other guys. And then her father and her brother come back totally traumatized. And that's when they decide, like, we can't send out any more people, they're gonna die, so we need to try to do it with what we have for the winter. From that point onward, we see how the people of the town start to turn against one another. At the very beginning, they were a very closely knit, like a huge family, and then stuff just starts going down and everyone's turning against each other, and Ellery meets Whitaker, and he's the love interest, but you don't get a lot of, like, there's not a lot of kissing, there's not a lot of like physical romantic, just like there's not a lot of show of affection, but there are a lot of romantic scenes. Like, there were, as a helpless romantic, I was very satisfied with what they had. Of course, I would have loved to have had more. I am still praying for a second book. Those two have a kind of forbidden romance, and it's so good. We also, there's so much chaos in that book, and I love it so much. And there is a little bit of like a spook element. That's what Erin, the author of the book, is known for. She also wrote House of Salt and Sorrows, which is a YA fantasy romance, and there's, you know, there's a spooky element to it. That's what she writes. Like, it's not full-blown horror, but there is that element of spook in it. And I get scared really easily. I love the adrenaline rush of like when you watch a horror movie, but I can't cope with the aftermath, like I can't sleep. So I guess like reading it for me is a little bit easier to control. Small Favors had that perfect balance of like, yes, it's spooky, it gives you like, ooh, it gives you that feeling, but it doesn't give you nightmares. So that's really, I really like that about Erin's writing. And there are some really good plot twists in there as well, and it's such a great element of, I don't know, in a sense, Ellery kind of loses her family, but she also, like, there's also this element of found family in the book, and so much chaos, and I love it so much. And there are like deeper meanings hidden beneath like everything that happens. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. And I have a tattoo for this book as well. Now of course it's kind of hard. I have a bee tattoo right here for this book, and I love it with my whole heart. A lot of people have asked me, why do you love it so much? Why is it your favorite book? And I guess it's just the way that it made me feel. I have not read that kind of like a really good book in a really long time. I've read multiple books that I've rated infinity stars throughout the year, but I haven't read a book that quite made me feel that way. It had so many different elements. Like, there was romance, there was a little bit of humor in there, there was some spook, there was some fantasy, there was some mystery, murder, you know, so many elements, but Erin manages to put them all together into an amazing piece of literature that is so fun to read, but also like you can't stop reading. You just want to keep going to know what happens next, because every flip of the page something happens, and in such a good way, and it's so well executed. And I love the book with my entire heart. Okay, we're gonna move on to May. Now in May, it was a little tricky for me to choose just one book. I am not gonna lie, because I think it's in May that I read Alone in the Other with You, or is it Alone with You in the Other? I can never remember which one it is. And I really enjoyed that book. But at the same time, I also read Something Wilder by Christina Lauren, and I loved it so much because it's a very light book to read, but at the same time it's incredibly entertaining. So I chose Something Wilder as my favorite book of May. It is any kind of Christina Lauren rom-com meets Indiana Jones. You know, they're being treasure hunters, and they're trying to find this big fat treasure that the female main character's father hid. And there's so many fun elements. It's a second chance romance. It's nothing like I've ever read before, and it's nothing like Christina Lauren has ever written before. They haven't really written, you know, these kind of action-y books. But I found that they did a really good job doing it. It was a very enjoyable read. It was easy to read. It wasn't necessarily like super fast paced, but it was also not super slow, at least not for me. I loved the development and the plot twists. Oh Lord. And the forced proximity between the two love interests, and the way that we see how the relationship they had when they were teenagers is still a relationship that they have now as adults, even though there was some miscommunication, there was some heartbreak. The female main character is set on not giving him another chance, and he is set on getting her back. And there's a lot of friendship and there's a lot of happiness. There's some betrayal, there's a bunch of really fun elements. It also gave me a vibe of like the movie National Treasure. For those of you who've seen it, it's very much, you know, that National Treasure is also a very Indiana Jones type of vibe, right? So that's, you know, treasure hunters. I loved how it kept me at the edge of my seat, quite literally. I really enjoyed it. So that was the book for May. Now for June, my favorite book would have to have been The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. This is also the very first book my book club and I read and annotated together. That book took me by surprise. So, like, completely took me off guard. I remember I went to the bookstore with my boyfriend, and the book had just come out, and he was like, look at this one, look, the cover's pretty, I think you would like it. And when I saw that, you know, on the cover there's one guy and 3 girls, and in the blurb it says that all 3 girls get stood up by the same guy on Valentine's Day, and I was just like, I don't want to get into that. I'm not a fan of love triangles or love squares or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't like, you know, rooting for one character and then it's another one that gets chosen, and it's not really for me. I love it in anime, but it's not really my thing in books. And so I was really like, nah, I'm not gonna take it. I really enjoy Beth O'Leary's writing. I've read The Flat Share. I had read it before reading The No-Show. I love her writing, but I did not want to go through that. And then we spun the wheel to choose our book for June, and it ended up being The No-Show. And when I tell you, you will not see it coming. You won't. You really won't. There are so many hints though. If you truly pay attention, you will find the hints. But that's the thing, you need to know what you're looking for to find them. But this is not it's not just a rom-com. It's not just a romance book. It addresses trauma. It addresses various forms of trauma. Do look up trigger warnings because there can be, you know, some sensitive topics in there. You get the point of views of all 3 women in the story. There's Siobhan, there's Jane, and then there's Miranda. All 3 of them, and you see how you see all of their struggles. You see all of their individual connections to the mailman character, and at the same time you kind of get 3 stories in one. And it's so well executed. Beth really outdid herself with this one because she managed to make me feel so many emotions through simply a couple of hundreds of pages. And I hated the male protagonist so much until there's the big reveal, and then you really feel for him. And honestly, I had read the reviews and someone said something very similar to what I just said, that it's beautiful that you see Carter's relationship, his development, blah blah blah, all the struggles that he went through. And when I started the book, I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that person could not have been serious. This guy's a douchebag. And then I share a very, very similar opinion to that person who posted that review, and truly such a good book. And I'm so excited. I can't remember if it's being made into a movie or a TV series. Either way, it's being brought to the screen, and I'm so excited to watch it. And it was also a very special experience to read this book with my book club, you know, with it being the very first book that I was reading with a group of other people. And it was so fun to talk about it with all of the members, and seeing like, we have a Discord channel just for the original club, and then I also have kind of an extension for the Tabby's Annotating Book Club on Fable. So if you weren't able to snatch up a spot with like the original group where we meet on Zoom and talk on Discord, there is a club on Fable that you can join. It's completely free. Fable is completely free to use. You can buy ebooks on there though. That's kind of the only place where you spend any money. Free to join my club, and you can chat with us. You can post your own updates. It's really, really fun. Fable is absolutely amazing. Not just saying that because I work there. I am saying that because I genuinely mean it. I've been using Fable for many, many months, and it's a great app to just bring people together. And if you feel like joining the Tabby's Annotating Book Club, it is linked in my description. And then I also made a new book club for 2023 where we fully focus on reading feel-good romances. So again, anyone can join. If you want to buy the book on Fable and read it digitally and annotate it, they have a bunch of different ways to annotate your ebook. You can do that, again, in the description. Okay, that's enough self-promo for the book clubs. That was the book for June. Truly, the no-show will get you feeling so many emotions, and I would strongly recommend reading it with a friend or reading it with someone else, or if you'd like to talk about it, DM me on Instagram. Honestly, my DMs are always open to talk about books. If you read a book that you know I've read and you want to talk about it, send me a DM, please, okay? We can chat all day if you want to. I might not reply immediately, but we can still have a really good conversation. So if you've read The No-Show, or if you want to read The No-Show and would like someone to talk about it with, send me a DM on Instagram. Always looking for people to talk about books with. Okay, now for the month of July, I am entering my Mariana Zapata era. I read my very first Mariana Zapata book in July, and that was The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. But that is not my favorite of the month. My favorite of the month was All Roads Lead Here. God, such a good book. It is a small town romance, grumpy sunshine, single parent, found family, and of course it's hilarious. It's Mariana Zapata. It is a really chunky book, and I read it in like 2-3 days. I cannot recommend this book enough. It gave me so many butterflies, so many good feelings. It also made me sob my heart out, because as with literally every single Mariana Zapata book I've read, she manages to incorporate a little bit of spice, a whole lot of tension, a very strong element of family, whether this be like found family or whether it be like an actual big family going through some struggles or just getting closer, or there's always a strong element of family in her books. And I am a very family-oriented person. My best friends are my parents, you know. I'm very close with my parents. I am close with some of my siblings. I am close with my niece, you know. I value family tremendously. So to find that in a book, obviously I can relate. And I love being able to relate. Sometimes I don't need to, I don't look for it, I won't exactly relate with From Blood and Ash, but there are certain elements in stories, whether they be, you know, incredibly fictional or just a little fictional, there's always something that you can find that you relate to. In All Roads Lead Here, there is just... oh my god, where do I even start? It's very, very grumpy sunshine, and I love it so much because Rhodes is such a grump, but when he warms up, oh my god, I melt. I melt like ice under the sun, okay, or ice under a blowtorch. Oh, he's such a simp for her, and I love it so much. Oh, truly, honestly, I should reread the book. I really, it's right there. I do have some of the books here. I'm just really lazy, and I don't feel like, because there are so many stacks of books in here, I just don't feel like going through them. So please excuse my laziness, but the book is here. I will probably reread it. It's a great book. It will make you feel so many emotions, including, like, you will squeal, you're gonna laugh, probably gonna cry, or get a little emotional. You might also get angry. There is, you know, there's a little, like, she hides her identity a little bit, which does cause for some miscommunication and like the 75% breakup. But again, Mariana Zapata manages to do these, like, the breakup very, very well. I find that I really, like, I don't enjoy it, it's not fun, but I do like the way that there's brooding And I like the way that they don't last too long because they always end up communicating soon after. I really like that about her books. And I really liked it about All Roads Lead Here. And I love the element of Rhodes being a single dad, but the way that he became a single dad, that was very unexpected, and I love it. I love that part of the book. Anyways, I really recommend that book. I recommend any Mariana Zapata book, honestly. She does such a good job. I forgot to bring Culty because I bought it a couple weeks ago and I left it at my apartment, and I'm currently kind of in like a reading slump. I just finished reading You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle, and that was such a good book. And now I'm kind of like, I started reading a fantasy arc that I was sent, and I'm just not in the fantasy mood, so I'm not enjoying it very much. So now I started reading Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. Hopefully some spice will get me out of it. I don't know. If I had a Mariana Zapata book, that is what I would be reading right now. But I don't, so I might just have to order something on Amazon. Anyway, completely fine. Okay, and then in August, we have another MZ book. This time it is From Lukov with Love. Oh my god, it's such a good book! Oh. Okay, it's a sports romance. They are figure skaters. If you did not know, my mother was a skating instructor for many years. She started skating when she was a kid, and she went to a lot of competitions, not contests, competitions. And so did my siblings, and so did I. I did not skate for a long time though. I skated until I was about, I don't remember when I started. I do know that I stopped around 4 years old because I felt like stopping, and my parents were not the kind of parents that forced me to do anything I didn't want to. They put me in piano classes, and they got me a guitar to see if I was, you know, a musical prodigy. I was not. After a while, when my piano instructor was like, yeah, you're gonna have to play on stage, I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. I am out of here. My parents were just like, okay, it's fine. And when I said I wanted to stop skating, I just did. But anyways, I miss it tremendously, and so reading From Lukov with Love really just made me, honestly, it made me so happy. I felt like I was on the ice with them, and it made me miss it so much that I went and bought myself a new pair of skates. I have not been on the ice yet. I caught a cold, but I plan on skating a lot in the next few months because we're still gonna have an ice rink until like March, April, usually. Anywho, it is a great enemies to lovers. They're kind of both grumps, but not, but they're grumps with each other, and I love them for it. Honestly, Jasmine and Ivan. Ivan is such a softie. Oh my god. I mean, all the animals that he has. Oh, it's adorable. And he fell first. He wanted to skate with her first. Basically, the whole book revolves around them having to practice, like they're brought together to skate in pairs because Ivan lost his partner and Jasmine lost her partner a while ago, and she's struggling a little bit with competitions and winning and all that stuff. And so Ivan's like, I want to skate with her. His coach approaches Jasmine, convinces her, she says yes. They start skating in pairs and they start training, and as they train they get closer and they have to do a photo shoot with they're naked. Oh, that is quite a scene. I'm not gonna, oh, so good. Oh, I love it so much. And again, there's a great element of family in the book. And one of Jasmine's sisters, Ruby, has her own book. Her love story is Dear Erin, which I read this year. Or should I say last year if I'm gonna post this in 2023. Oh, I'm so lame. But anyways, it's a great book. A lot of tension. Super slow burn because it's Mariana Zapata. She is the queen of slow burn. And if you don't enjoy slow burn, I think she will probably introduce you to enjoying it a little bit more, because she does a really good job of it. And I know her books are, you know, relatively big. They're always over 480 pages. They're huge books. Well, huge. You know, they're like this big. It's not that big, but it's bigger than the average book. But I really recommend giving it a shot, especially if you like sport romances. So good. Okay, then in September, we've got another Mariana Zapata book because I'm obsessed. In September, she came out with When Gracie Met the Grump, and I immediately ordered it because it's a supernatural romance. It's a superhero romance, and she's never written anything like that before. And she did it so well. I can't get over how well she wrote this book. Again, the tension, the forced proximity. Okay, they are stuck in a cell, like they've been kidnapped, and like he's a superhero, and like something happened where he got really hurt, and so he fell in her front yard and she has to take care of him, and then they get kidnapped, you know, and then they have to get out of there. And when they get out, when they're running away, they're bonding a little bit, you know, they're still grumpy sunshine, but they're bonding. And then she stays with him once they fully escape and they get back to his house, and she meets his family. And she was really close with her grandparents because her parents, I'm talking really fast, I'm so sorry, it's one of my absolute favorite books of all time. Let me play with a pen while I talk, maybe it'll calm me down. She was raised by her grandparents because her parents kind of gave her up. And then her grandparents passed away, and so she lost that family. But then she meets his family, and she gets closer to some of them, and oh my god. Oh, it's so sweet. They bond over food. They bond over like Cheetos and cookies and, you know, just yummy junk food. And he calls her Cookie Monster. Okay? And it might, like, for some of you, it might give you the ick. I get it. Honestly, if someone had told me I would be fangirling over a guy calling a girl Cookie Monster, I'd look at you weird. I'm gonna be honest. I would look at you weird. But it's so sweet in this book. Again, he's such a simp for her, and I love it so much. And there's a scene towards the end of the book when she's trying to help him fly again. And I'm not going to say anything else other than that. I'm just going to say, when you get to the scene when she is with him and his brother and she's trying to help him fly again, that scene... Okay, I'm going to give you like a tiny spoiler, so skip for the next couple of seconds. I'm gonna show you a GIF. Is it GIF or GIF? I never gonna show you a little scene from Fairy Tail, the anime. Okay, so I will put it here. This scene in Fairy Tail, the feeling that you get when you watch this, actually I'll show you two scenes. This will be the first one, and then I'll show you the second one. So when you watch these scenes in Fairy Tail, or even if you just watch them now, if you haven't watched Fairy Tail. If you haven't watched Fairy Tail, what are you doing? Please watch it now. It's one of the most classic, you have to, okay? So, when you watch these scenes, the feeling that you get when Natsu catches Lucy, when Natsu is just running until he would die. Like, he is just so, like, there's one thing on his mind, and it's to catch Lucy. Get this feeling you get. That is what you get on the scene in When Gracie Met the Grump, when Gracie is trying to help our sweet superhero fly again. And it is such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling. I had so many butterflies while reading that book. I miss it. I miss it so much. I don't know how none of Mariana's books have been made into movies. But anyways, just so many good feelings. So many good feelings. Please read it. Please read it. And if you have any recommendations, please send them my way, because it seems like I have an obsession with superhero romances. I do have Renegades, I should start reading that one. Now, in October, it is another book club book that I absolutely fell in love with, and it is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. When in Rome was the Tabby's Annotating Book Club's book of October, and it was my very first time reading anything by Sarah. It will not be my last. And when I read all of her books, I am quite actually going to sob my life out. I am willing to battle to the death to get the next book in this series, because she is making it into a series. We're gonna get the stories of a lot of other characters, and the next one is coming out in May, and I really want an arc. I want an arc so bad. But you know, if I can't, I will gladly wait, and I will give her all my money. Anyways, When in Rome is such a sweet book. There's not really any spice, but there's a lot of tension. It's delicious. It's so good. So our female main character is a super popular pop star, but she has hit a huge burnout. She does not love singing anymore. She's fallen out of love with it. And so she's a huge fan of, what's her name again? I'm so bad at remembering names. But anyway, she's a huge fan of this specific actress. And she plays in a movie called When in Rome, I think? Something about Rome. And so in the movie, this woman flies to Rome to like escape all her issues. But our female protagonist drives to Rome, Kentucky. And so when she gets there, she crashes into the front yard of this man in the small town, because Rome is a super small town. And he's a baker. He's the owner of the pie shop, and his name is Noah. Noah is such a grump, but like he comes out and he's like, man, like you need to get out of the car's about to blow, like, but she's like, I'm not coming out, you could be like, you know, you could try to kidnap me or attack me or whatever, you know. And she has to stay with Noah in his guest bedroom for a little while until her car is fixed. She had planned on staying in the bed and breakfast, but obviously the owner of the bed and breakfast is trying to match Noah with Amelia, so she's like, I'm sorry, we're completely booked. So she has to stay with him in his house. And so there's forced proximity, there's Grumpy Sunshine. He is obviously, like, he is super attracted to her. There is obvious chemistry in this house, and it's bursting at the seams, okay guys? It's delicious. And he makes her pancakes, and then she tries to make pancakes as good as him, and she can't. But then eventually, like, it's all about the pancakes. All about the pancakes. And there's such great found family for her because she lost touch with her mom when she became really popular. And then you get a little plot twist about this whole situation with her mother towards the end. And you get so mad. Like, there's a character in there that I hated almost as much as I hate Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter. Like, oof, I could not stand that woman. Both of them, Dolores and that other character in When in Rome. Oh, but it's so great to see Noah and Amelia. Truly, it's such a sweet book. It's heartwarming. It feels like a hug. Like a hot cup of hot cocoa during a beautiful winter storm, or like a warm hug when you really need one. It feels so good to read it. And I also have another one of her very popular books, The Cheat Sheet, which is a best friends to lovers romance between a ballerina and a football player. I have not read it yet. I really wish I'd brought that because I really want to read it right now. But I'm gonna read it maybe in January, maybe in February, sometime in 2023. I'm gonna read it, and I love her writing. It's so sweet. It just makes you feel really good. We're gonna read The Cheat Sheet for my feel-good romance book club. We're gonna read that because Sarah's writing is so feel-good. Truly, it's such a feel-good romance type of style that she has, and I love it so much. And she is such a sweet person as well. I haven't met her in person because, hello, I'm Canadian. We don't have book signing events here. Especially not in New Brunswick, which, please fix that. Do something. We love you too. Can you come and see us? It was such a good book. And if you're looking for something that is not like, it's not too heavy on your brain, right? Like, there's not super heavy stuff, but at the same time, it does address, like, you know, the issues of burnout, the issues of putting yourself first, the issues of, like, you know, you don't want to talk about your problems to people because you don't want to be a burden. I felt called out. All of those things I really struggle with, and they are things that I will be changing in 2023. Anywho, I really recommend it. It's, if you need a hug and you don't like physical touch, I strongly recommend that book. Now in November, again, November was a really tricky month to choose because I read so many good books. But I chose Your Name by Makoto Shinkai. I talked a lot about this in my November wrap-up. The movie is such a comfort movie to me. It brings me tremendous joy, and it's just such a great story. And it was even better to be able to read it and annotate it, take a bazillion notes, and just analyze everything, because there's a lot of intricate stuff that goes on in this story, and it can be hard to follow everything that's going on because there's a lot that goes on at the same time. And so that's why I wanted to read the book. I wanted to be able to really focus and, you know, tab certain moments and write down my questions and my thoughts and all that stuff that I can't really do when I'm watching the movie. So it was such an experience to read the book. And if you're not familiar with what Your Name is, it is this anime movie, but it was also made into a book, and there's also a manga series, a couple of volumes, I believe. The story revolves around Taki and Mitsuha. Taki is a young boy in Tokyo, whereas Mitsuha is a young girl in a really small town, and she really wishes that she could be in Tokyo. She's miserable where she is in this small town. And Taki, we don't really see him being like, I want to live in a small town. He loves architecture and art and, you know, visual culture and all that stuff. And we see that through their dreams, they switch bodies. And so the entire movie focuses around this, how Mitsuha wakes up in Taki's body and Taki wakes up in Mitsuha's body, and they have to go about their days with this switch happening. So this is where it kind of gets confusing, because sometimes you get lost with who's who. Like, is this really Mitsuha? Then there's also a twist that happens when a meteor hits Earth. It's just, from that point onward, everything that happens, it's a huge, for me, it was a huge question mark. I was just like completely and utterly lost. And I have watched this movie many, many times, okay? Many times. And it was the kind of thing where I was like, oh yeah, I totally get what's going on right now. But then I, you know, asked myself, like, do I really understand? Like, is what I think I understand the right understanding of this? Like, am I making stuff up? Or am I right? You know? So that's why I decided to read the book. And it's only like 180 pages. And I really focused on all of the elements, and I took out my clear post-its and I wrote down all of my questions, and I used a bunch of tabs, and I referred back to the movie, and I had a blast reading this book. And I read it more as a kind of, like, I gave myself this kind of assignment to read the book and fully understand the situation, the body switches, the everything that happens. It was, yes, I kind of gave myself the task to do this, but I still enjoyed reading the book as though I was just reading a book to read, like a leisurely read. But I was kind of giving myself this assignment. Am I making any sense? I don't know. I got a little bit too over-invested here. I'm sorry. But if you love the movie, please read the book. Yes, of course there are some cringy moments. I mean, it's based on an anime. It's anime. There's gonna be some cringe in there, and it's fine. It's totally fine. Just look past it. But the book is like identical to the movie. There's nothing that's been drastically changed or anything that's been omitted. It's very, very accurate because the book was being written at the same time that the movie was being produced, something like that, and so it's very similar. So there's nothing that's gonna cause any confusion other than like the plot itself that could be confusing, but I really recommend it. Please give it a shot. And then we are down to December. So I read a lot of good books in December. I am still currently reading some really good books, and it's December 28th. I still have a couple days to read some really good books. But the book that I chose for December was You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. I mentioned this book at the beginning of the video, or earlier on in the video, whatever. I received this book from my Secret Santa. The Tabbies and I decided to do a Secret Santa exchange this year, and my Secret Santa sent me a book from my Amazon wishlist, which was You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. And I am so incredibly grateful to have gotten that book because it is so good. I posted about this on my Instagram actually today, and I made kind of like a tiny review for it. The first few chapters, I was not invested. I thought like, okay, like where is this going? I thought this was gonna be good. What's going on? Like, it's not, you know, like, I don't know what's going on. I know what's going on, but I'm not really enjoying what's going on. And if you don't know, the book is basically this engaged couple. They are to be wed in a few months, and we get this in the girl's point of view, and she's fallen out of love. She loves Nicholas 18%. She's just not, she's not in love anymore, and so she doesn't want to call off the wedding because she doesn't want to have to pay back his parents all the money that they've put on the wedding. Oh, it's snowing! It's snowing outside! Yay. So she's trying to get Nicholas to leave her or break up with her or whatever so that she doesn't have to deal with it. But then he's also doing kind of the same thing. But see, the people that I've seen talk about this book, they say that both of them are trying to get the other to dump the other. But I felt like Nicholas was not trying to be problematic so that Naomi would leave him. I think rather he was trying to save the relationship all along. That's how I perceived it. I don't know. I just felt like I just felt like that. It felt like that to me. But anyways, so you get this kind of like at the beginning you see like Naomi's not in love with him anymore, and she's not in love. It doesn't feel like a romance book because she's not in love anymore. She's lost that spark. And so for me, I was kind of like, okay, when are they gonna start like having tension and chemistry again? When is this gonna start feeling like a romance? You know, like I needed the romance at the time that I was reading it, so that's why I was kind of not super invested in the beginning of the book. But then it starts. They get closer. They move to a really nice house in the woods. They're changing, they're trying, they're making an effort. They fall back in love with each other times 3,000, okay? And it's such a beautiful story. It stole my breath away. I physically had to clutch my heart. Like, I did this. I did it a couple times. It made me so happy. Like, they never really stopped loving each other. The spark was missing. And it was so lovely to see them gain that spark back. And I haven't annotated a book in a little while because when I got sick again, I was just like, I want to read, but I don't feel like annotating. I was very physically weak. I still am a little bit physically weak. So, you know, doing all the annotating stuff was not it for me at that time. So I read You Deserve Each Other and I did not annotate it, and I regret it. I really wish I had, but that means I'll get to reread the book again and annotate it and make it all pretty and just, it's fun. I really enjoyed doing it. For December, it was You Deserve Each Other. It's such a beautiful story. And honestly, if you start reading it and you also struggle with like, this doesn't feel like a romance, or like, when is stuff gonna start happening, or, you know, you don't really see the point in reading this, trust me, it gets so much better. It gets to that romance that you're looking for. Even if it takes a little while, it gets there. We went through all of it. We did one book per month. It was so hard to just choose one book. We did it. And what I'm gonna do, I am going to make an Amazon storefront list with all of my favorite books of 2022, and I will link it in my description if you want to go to one place and see all of these books in one place. It will be there if you're interested in buying my favorite books of 2022 per month. Now, I feel like going downstairs in the living room, sitting down with my mom, who is currently knitting, and just taking my computer and taking the time to edit this video while I am looking at the beautiful snow outside, because it's snowing and it's so pretty. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep on resting until I feel entirely like myself again. I am very, very close though. I'm really close. I'm getting there. I am getting there. I'm really happy that I'm getting there. So basically, you know, it was just a casual chat between friends, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find some good books in the books that I've talked about. If you've been watching my reading wrap-ups since the beginning, a lot of these titles will not be new to you. Either way, I hope that you found some nice book recs. And if you are new to the channel and you've watched this entire thing, thank you so much. Welcome to the family. Make sure to subscribe to officially become a little raindrop. And I'm gonna get going because I don't want to miss the snow to edit this video. It's gonna be so cozy. Okay, I'm gonna get going, and I will see you guys in the next one.